You won't believe how much cash these Chinese billionaires lost this year. But exactly how much has their net worth dropped in 2023? Well, let's find out. Number 20. Wang Chuanfu lost $1.78 billion. Wang Chuanfu was born to poor parents who were farmers by trade. He sadly lost both of them and was looked after by his older brother and sister when he was in high school. With all those obstacles, it's amazing that he managed to lift himself up to billionaire status later in life. He studied chemistry and used his knowledge to build one of the most successful companies worldwide. After years working as a researcher funded by China's government, he founded BYD Company. It was launched in 1995, but today, it's the largest manufacturer of cell phone batteries in the world. And by 2021, Wang Chuanfu's personal wealth was reflecting the success of his company. Forbes reported that year that he was worth over $21 billion. But 2023 was less kind to him. This year, his net worth dropped by $1.78 billion. We don't know exactly why, so it probably comes down to stock prices. It's possible he'll make it all back soon. That's a shocking amount of money to lose, but the numbers are only going to get bigger. How much did the next person on our list lose? Let's find out. Number 19. Zhu Yangxin lost $2.1 billion. Zhu Yangxin, who also goes by the name Chris Zhu, is one of the most mysterious billionaires in the world. But even if you don't recognize him, you'll know his brand, Shein. The fast fashion brand is one of the biggest names in the game. Last year, it was valued at more than Zara and H&M combined. The company has grown so much, they bring in a reported $100 billion every year. It's not surprising that Xu is one of China's richest men, but nobody knows the exact figure thanks to his secretive nature. But Forbes came up with an estimate last year saying his net worth was around $10 billion. Not anymore though. He apparently lost a whopping $2.1 billion this year. That's a fifth of his entire net worth. He can't be happy about that. We're guessing it's because fast fashion isn't as fashionable as it used to be, with young people becoming more interested in environmental factors and human rights. But we'll never know for sure what happened as long as Xu continues to fly under the radar. Zhu Yangxin might not be a friend of environmental warriors, but the next billionaire on our list will get their attention. Number 18. Cao Renxian lost $2.29 billion. Cao Renxian is the chair of Sungrow Power Supply, the world's largest developer of photovoltaic power stations. They've even expanded into wind power converters and other power supplies, which combined bring in a staggering amount of money from all over the world. But it hasn't been plain sailing for Cao Renxian. Last year, his net worth dropped by $2.29 billion, leaving him with just $5.1 billion to his name. That's a huge drop, and while we don't know why he lost it, we're guessing it has something to do with all the new competitors entering the market. Let's move from new forms of energy to the old school stuff and find out how the oil industry is doing. Number 17. Li Shuirong lost $2.29 billion. Lu Shuirong started his business ventures back in 1989 when he founded the Yingyang Network chemical fiber factory. Its main product was polyester fabric, but when that industry moved, Li Shuirong chose a whole new industry for himself. This time, he founded the Sheshang Rongsheng Holding Group. It has roots in a number of industries, from petrochemicals to real estate and investments. But in 2020, it stepped up a notch. It became the very first private oil refiner to receive permission from the Chinese government to export oil. By 2022, Li Shuirong made it onto Forbes' Billionaires list in spot 192 with a net worth of $10.3 billion. I guess there's a reason oil is still considered the fastest way to become super rich. But this year, Li Shuirong's net worth hasn't continued to grow. In fact, it dropped by a whopping $2.29 billion. That's gotta hurt. But the next billionaire on our list started out with less cash and lost even more. Number 16. Zhang Huijuan lost $2.35 billion. Zhang Huijuan holds the title as the world's richest self-made woman. That's a pretty impressive position to be in. But how did she do it? Well, she studied chemistry and decided to use her qualifications to become a middle school teacher. Wait, what? That's a weird way to become a billionaire, right? It sure is, but she got lucky. Her husband was working as a manager of a state-owned pharmaceutical manufacturer when he decided to open his own company with an investor from Hong Kong. Only he couldn't quit his job. He quickly realized he didn't have the time to manage one factory and manage his own pharmaceutical company, and that changed everything for Zhang Huijuan. Her qualifications meant she could take over at the new company, so she quit her job and joined her husband's company as a founder. She was the one that decided to invest 10% of the revenue into research and development, a lot more than most Chinese pharmaceutical companies. It paid off in a big way. By 2019, she had a bigger net worth than her husband. It only got bigger in 2020. But since then, it's been falling dramatically. Just this year, she lost another $2.35 billion, and she now has a net worth of only $6 billion. The next person on our list lost even more money this year. But unlike Zhang Huijuan, he seems to be making a comeback. Number 15. Chen Jianhua lost $2.55 billion. Back in 1994, Chen Jianhua founded the Hengli Group with his wife as a weaving factory. But since then, it's grown into something very different. It still makes textiles like polyester, but it's mainly known for petrochemicals and oil refining. It also owns the world's largest terephthalic acid factory. He hit his peak wealth in 2021 with a whopping $10.6 billion, but then it collapsed. Just this year, he reportedly lost $2.55 billion, leaving him with only $5.96 billion after his wealth kept falling over the last 2 years. But a recent restructuring of the shareholding means his net worth is rising again. He's currently worth $7.3 billion according to Forbes. That's some pretty fast financial regrowth. But his net worth is nothing like the next billionaire on our list. Number 14. Jack Ma lost $2.74 billion. Jack Ma, originally known as Ma Yun, made his billions as the co-founder of the multinational technology conglomerate, the Alibaba Group. As if that wasn't enough, he also boosted his wealth as the co-founder of the Chinese private equity firm Yangfeng Capital. How much money did he make in those roles? Well, in 2021, he hit the peak of his wealth. It was a mind-blowing $48.4 billion. But it's nowhere close to that now. Sometime around early 2022, he left China and spent a year traveling around the world. We don't know if that's definitely linked, but we do know that his wealth dropped to less than half in just 1 year. In 2023 alone, he's lost $2.74 billion. But he returned to China just before the Alibaba Group announced that it was going to split into 6 different businesses. Now his wealth is on the rise again. He's currently just less than $1 billion richer now than he was this time last year. We'll just have to wait and see what happens next. Number 13. Wang Xing lost $2.87 billion. Computer engineering graduate Wang Xing changed his life with a business merger. In 2015, he founded Meituan Group by merging Meituan, a Groupon-style site, with Dianping.com, which is kinda like Yelp. He then went on to create China's first social network for college students. All of this really paid off for him. In 2021, his wealth reached over $26 billion. Then he made a big mistake. He posted a 1,000-year-old anti-establishment poem on social media and quickly deleted it, but it was enough to get people talking. Regulators now thought he might be in violation of antitrust laws. Wang Xing quickly began transferring his stocks to his foundation, eating into his wealth by about $2 billion in just 2 days. It cost his company more than $16 billion. Since then, his wealth has fallen to $9.74 billion, and he's lost $2.87 billion this year. Wang Xing isn't the only person who lost a lot of money thanks to just one mistake. Number 12. Wu Yajun lost $3.21 billion. Wu Yajun co-founded her real estate development company, Long 4, with her husband back in 1993. When they divorced in 2012, he left the company, and Wu Yajun became the only chairman of the company. And she continued in that role for another 10 years. The company got bigger and bigger under her watchful eye, but in 2022, she decided to step down from her position as chairman. We don't know for sure that her stepping down caused her wealth to drop, but it seemed like the company immediately started losing money. She lost an eye-watering $3.21 billion this year, leaving her with just $7.6 billion. Wu Yajun probably should have stayed in control of her own company. The next billionaire on our list will prove why. Number 11. Chen Bang lost $3.33 billion. Chen Bang has a pretty interesting origin story. He tried his hand at property and investment at a young age, but because he was born into a military family, what he really wanted to do was join the army. Even though he volunteered, he wasn't allowed to join because he turned out to be colorblind. One day, he met a retired ophthalmologist, a doctor who specializes in eyes and vision. Chen Bang knew exactly what he wanted to do after that. He opened our Eye Hospital Group, the largest group of hospitals specializing in eyes in the whole of China. They have 800 hospitals in China and even more spread across the world. Chen Bang was helping people, but he was making a lot of money doing it. His net worth was once $17.9 billion, but not anymore. There's no word on what happened, but his income has been dropping since 2021, and he lost $3.33 billion earlier this year. Somehow he's got back on track though. From a net worth of just $9.5 billion a few months ago, he's grown his bank balance to $10.2 billion. It's not a lot more, but at least it means he's making back some of the money he lost. At least Chen Bang's money is on the rise again. The next billionaire on our list has lost at least half of his wealth over the last year, and it's only getting worse. Number 10. Lin Jianhua lost at least $3.59 billion. Lin Jianhua worked in a fertilizer factory for over a decade before he completely changed the course of his life. In 2003, he set up Hangzhou First Applied Material with his wife. The company sells supplies for the solar power industry. How much money can you earn doing that? Billions. Just last year, Lin Jianhua's net worth had reached an impressive $12.1 billion, but since then, it's dropped to less than half that amount. The decline began a few months before the end of 2022 and has continued this year. Since January, he's lost at least $3.59 billion, but some sources say that number is closer to $6 billion. The worst estimates have his net worth at only $4.3 billion, while others say he still has about $6.7. We don't know how it happened, but China had a huge stock market crash last year that might explain the sudden loss of billions of dollars. To meet our next billionaire, we'll need to take a look at a very different kind of industry, one you'd never expect could turn someone into a billionaire. Number 9. Qin Yinglin lost $3.84 billion. Qin Yinglin is known as the world's richest farmer. His company, Muyuan Foodstuff, made all its money from pig farming. He started working at a state-run pork producer before deciding he could do a better job. He was right. He started his company with his wife, and the couple only had 22 pigs at the time, but they made it work, and his fortune grew to a peak of $33.5 billion. Since 2021, his net worth has dropped dramatically, and he's already lost $3.84 billion in this year alone. Sources say his net worth is now somewhere between $18 and $15 billion. Could it be because of a rise in popularity in vegan lifestyles? We'll never know for sure. Of course, you don't need to sell a product to make billions, as our next billionaire proves. Number 8. Wang Wei lost $4.41 billion. Back in 1993, Wang Wei founded SF Holding, the company we now know as delivery service SF Express. He had a unique approach to package delivery. While most companies outsource their deliveries to franchises, SF operates 100% on its own, with employees they hire and aircraft and vehicles they own. That means they can deliver much faster than most other companies, setting them apart from competitors. Wang Wei still owns the majority of the company, and in 2020, his personal net worth started rising. By 2021, it was a whopping $39 billion. Since then, it dropped dramatically again, and this year he's already lost $4.41 billion. Some say that his net worth is on the rise again, though. That's a pretty unusual way to make so much money. Let's go back to a more traditional industry that we've already mentioned on this list. Number 7. Jin Baofeng lost $4.48 billion. Jin Baofeng made billions as the chairman and managing director of JA Solar Technology, one of the world's largest producers of solar panels. They have manufacturing sites across China and Southeast Asia, with another planned in the USA. But despite all the success, they've had trouble in the stock markets for years. And Jin Baofeng's net worth is always affected by the sudden drops in share prices. Back in 2020, Bloomberg reported he'd lost $1 billion overnight. It all came back, plus a lot more, just a few months later. It looks like he's in the middle of another drop though, having lost an estimated $4.48 billion this year. His daughter became the director of the company in 2022, but we don't know if that has anything to do with his drop in personal wealth. Solar seems to be the next big thing in business, but there's one classic that hasn't gone out of fashion: cars. Just ask. Number 6. Li Shufu lost $4.49 billion. Li Shufu, also known as Eric Li, is the chairman of Geely Automobile Holdings. Not only is the company one of the very few Chinese car manufacturers not owned by the state, it's also one of China's biggest car companies. If you feel like you don't know them, we have a surprise for you. In 2010, they acquired the Swedish brand Volvo. They helped them expand globally and grow Li Shufu's personal wealth. His net worth has been growing ever since, with a few small drops. But when you're worth more than $23 billion, a small drop in stock value can cost you billions. And over the last year, he reportedly lost a whopping $4.49 billion. His wealth is now almost equal to what it was 2 years ago, so it's possible he can bounce back from here. Cars aren't the only investment that everyone believes is stable. You can probably guess the other one. It's real estate. But the next person on our list proves the market isn't as safe as you expect. Number 5. Yang Huiyan lost $4.66 billion. 2 years ago, Yang Huiyan was declared Asia's richest woman with a staggering net worth of $29.6 billion. Unfortunately, she's also had one of the biggest drops in personal wealth on our list. In fact, she's struggling to keep her company out of the red. She's the chair and majority owner of the company created by her father. It's a property developer called Country Garden. It's completed literally thousands of projects across China. But unfortunately, the property market in the country has burst, taking Yang Huiyan's net worth down with it. This year, she's already lost $4.66 billion. But go back a few years, and the stats are even worse. Since 2021, she's reportedly lost over $25 billion. Her net worth currently stands at about $4.3 billion, a lot less than the almost $30 billion she had before. Sadly, it doesn't look like she's making a comeback either. Only time will tell if she can grow the company back to its former glory. It's gotta be tough when you're trying to meet an expectation, like Yang Huiyan was with her dad. But it's even worse when you're always being compared to the richest man on Earth. Just ask number 4. Richard Liu lost $5.08 billion. Liu Qiangdong, or Richard Liu, is often called the Bezos of China, thanks to the success of his e-commerce company JD.com. But his net worth doesn't quite match up to Bezos, especially not anymore. He started out with an ordinary bricks-and-mortar shop selling electronics. He only kept it open for 6 years before deciding to move the entire business online. It was a great decision. It grew so big he was soon named a billionaire, and his wealth grew from there. He hit his peak in 2021, presumably because lockdown meant more and more people were buying stuff online. At that time, he was worth $22.4 billion. But it wouldn't last. His wealth started dropping, and as Beijing began trying to rein in the influence of tech companies like his, he decided to step down from his role as chief executive. He'd already lost billions over last year, but this year he saw his bank balance drop by another $5.08 billion. I guess he'll never be as rich as Bezos. Think that loss was bad? Well, the next person on the list can take another billion off that number. Number 3. Zhang Shenshen lost $6.22 billion. How do you measure how big these losses really are? Because if you look at the sum, then Zhang Shenshen lost the third highest amount of cash on our list this year. But if you're measuring by percentage of his net worth, it's not even close to some of the others. Zhang Shenshen is the founder and chairman of Nongfu Spring, a water bottling company. But that's not all he does. He also owns Beijing Wantai Biological Pharmacy, a company that makes rapid diagnostic tests for infectious diseases. I'll bet you've already guessed why that's important. At the start of 2020, he was worth $2 billion, but by 2021, his net worth had ballooned to a gigantic $68.9 billion. That makes him China's wealthiest man. This year, he's reportedly lost a whopping $6.22 billion, but it hasn't made much of a dent in his bank balance, and he already seems to be making a comeback. His net worth right now, according to Forbes, is $63.1 billion. The next person on our list lost way more than Zhang Shenshen, but did they have enough in the bank to take the blow? Let's find out. Number 2. Hong Kong lost $7.79 billion. Hong Kong made his billions as the chair of a company that's been thriving since the 1700s. Today, it's called Foshan Heishan Flavoring and Food, and it's China's largest supplier of soy sauce. But while the company has been growing since the early 2010s, there was a sudden drop after 2021 that's continuing today. Obviously, Hong Kong's personal wealth is falling with it. Just 2 years ago, he was worth an estimated $26.4 billion, but he only has $8.1 billion left. This year alone, he's lost an eye-watering $7.79 billion. Bloomberg reported that they asked for a comment on the company's shocking net worth calculation, but nobody has responded. That means Hong Kong's personal wealth drop is a mystery. That's a lot of money to lose, but it's nothing compared to the loss that took our number 1 spot. Which billionaire is it, and how much money did they lose this year? Number 1. Zhang Yiming lost $12.6 billion. Most billionaires dream of a net worth of more than $10 billion, so we can only imagine how it feels to lose $12.6 billion. Zhang Yiming doesn't need to imagine, though. That's exactly what happened to him this year. If you're thinking you don't know who he is, we're here to tell you you're wrong. He's the founder of ByteDance, the tech giant behind social networking giant TikTok. The platform is still hugely popular, so how could Zhang Yiming have lost so much cash? Well, in 2021, he stepped down as chairman of the company. Rumor has it he was pressured into leaving by the Chinese government, and things only got worse after that. When the media started speculating that TikTok might be banned in the US, the stock values of the company plummeted. It was enough to cause Zhang Yiming's personal net worth to fall by a dramatic $12.6 billion in just 1 year. The first time he'd lost a significant amount of money since starting the company in a Beijing apartment in 2012. He might have been better off selling all his stocks and disappearing. And he could still choose to do that. Right now, Forbes estimates his net worth is still $39.1 billion. These billionaires might need lessons from the ones who choose to live like average Joes. Yes, they do exist. Want to find out who they are and how they choose to spend, or not spend all those billions? Then check this out. Some of the names on this list will blow your mind.